Right. Okay. So I'm raging, right? So many things are right, very, very fucking wrong in this country, and I'm losing my fucking shit, right? So I was on TikTok, where most of my fucking problems start, and I saw a post by a, albeit Labour MP, um, talk about the Glasgow water scandal. And if you don't know, what happened was the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Glasgow is in a scandal essentially because the water has been affected by a type of bacteria, and it was discovered because this girl who came in for leukemia and got treatment died from what was thought was I think it was an infection. I think it was like not sepsis. That's it, not syphilis. Shush, shush. Um, and sorry, Paul. Um, sh- and stop interrupting me. Um, right. Um, basically, it found out that she could that there could be a possibility that she died because of like the wee girl. I think she was about 8, 9, or 10. For fuck's sake, Indy, come on, you've got attention, right? And when questioned about it, they were like, "Oh, we can't say anything because we haven't tested the water yet." But it turns out that the hospital knew about the possibility of it, and also that the government could have possibly known about it too, because when it was built, there was the possibility, there was a report saying that there could be the bacteria in it, and I just think that's so fucking annoying. I hate that. Just, oh God, it was awful. But this is the problem. It's like people seem to think that if you're not Conservative or Labour, there are nothing wrong with the party. Now, don't get me wrong. SNP kind of kind of agree with their policies, but as you know, I'm a Green person. Like I'm a part of the Green Party, Scottish Greens, and it's just the fact is, I do think that this was neglect on not only the government but also the planning authorities. So now I this is like I have to preface this. In my course, in which I have H&C in, we did planning and development course thing. Um, essentially, it was learning what goes in planning and development, with the caveat of it being like how does it affect nature, right? So the government asks that if you're going to build a hospital or something important like that, or any development that's like really big, not just a house, you have to consult the statutory consultees, which is NatureScot, um, what's it called again? SEPA, so the Scottish Environmental Protection Agency. You also have to consult the local council. You also have to consult.
Something I missed here. Council, you only apply to the local council if it's only something that affects the local council. So, for example, if you wanted to build something on the national parks, you have to consult the national parks and not the local council. The same goes for interboundaries. So, if you want to build something that's in between Clackmannan and Shire and Fife, for example, you have to consult the local government and also the Scottish government.
Who else? Scottish Water, I think. Like the government, like levels, right?
The people who I forgot to mention are Transport Scotland, Historic Environment Scotland, Visit Scotland, Marine Scotland, and FOS. key.
And since you also need to, have reports, SEPA usually develops a report that says, um, this is how this building will affect the water levels, and they will decide whether or not that there's three outcomes essentially. There's the first outcome, which is we reject it. You can't build this. Option two is we'll only accept this if you follow these guidelines. And number three is like there's nothing wrong. Don't often recommend it, but they'll say, yeah, you can build it, but you know, um, and a lot goes into this planning, and this is a shit ton of bureaucracy, right? It takes fucking years to get through a planning process, but it's there to protect us, and it needs to be reformed or whatever. But my point I'm making is that um, the I think what happened was since this was a government trying to build it, they sort of overlooked it. There's two possible theories I can think of. It's either that the head boss of SEPA said, nah, it's fine. Um, or the government was like, nah, it's fine. Or could be both. But either way, this was government neglect and they should have known better. And it doesn't help that also that I think the main hospital blew off the mother when they said like, oh, there's nothing to worry about, we can't do anything about it just yet. I was like, that's bullshit because you knew. And it is a scandal. They should have known better, but whatever. But what I don't fucking get is why is Labour piping up? Any other party, in fact, why are they piping up? For example, the Conservatives have been at it for fucking years, okay? They let the company, like the water companies down south, literally poison the citizens. Labour, just as bad. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's a scandal right now in somewhere in Cambridge with a hospital. Like, I really don't think you should be piping up. Of course, there should be accountability, but still. And not to mention, particularly Glasgow. Glasgow is mostly run by, I need to confirm this, I'll figure it out, that is controlled by, I think, at least somewhat of a majority of Labour MPs. Which I think, not MPs, Labour councillors, and they have a say in what happens, and they are the ones who pass the process and stuff like that. So obviously I'm fucking pissed off about that. So yeah, Labour shouldn't fucking pipe up. But it's not just this that's been pissing me off, right? The digital ID scheme, right? I know that's kinda over, but I know that Labour's gonna try and make it like, oh, you don't have to do this, but we recommend you do. I have a feeling that they're gonna make it as fucking as impossible. It's like it's really fucking inconvenient for you to not have the app, so that they can be like, we're not forcing you to, but basically we are. And I feel like that's how it's going to go. And I really think that it doesn't help that the other three parties are basically essentially backing this. And I'm just really upset about it because it's like, we can't even. Just, I'll move on. Another thing that's been pissing me off is the Online Safety Act. Now, the fact I have to verify my fucking identity to log on to eBay. eBay. I have to log on to eBay and I have to upload my fucking provisional. Like, why? Is it like I get the principle of it. If you want to protect kids, you have to hide pornographic content. You have to hide like heavily violent content. But the fact that it's gotten so bad and gone too far that Spotify asks you to verify your identity. Um, Netflix asks you to verify your identity. I think. I don't know. Probably. I am probably bullshitting here, but I don't care. Um, like all these things that have nothing to do with protecting kids are asking you to verify your identity. And what I think this is that these companies have taken advantage of the fact that you need to update your upload your essentially your identification documents so that they can sell it on to brokers. And honestly, I think they're doing it through third parties so that they can just nothing to do with us, even though when inevitably your identity is going to be sold and leaked to something because there's cyber attacks every fucking 5 minutes here, and considering the security in this country is equivalent to a wet paper towel with gamma rays for it. But yeah, I'm sick of this shit. And the fact is like this is the I see that this is kind of like the only way to escape this bullshit is through being independent. And I know it's a controversial fucking opinion, and I kind of have my sort of caveats with it too. It's just that anything at this point has got to be better than this. Because we have what, 11 years of Conservatives, and they fucking screwed us over like austerity. Then Labour came in under the promise of change, and the only thing they changed was turn it into a fucking surveillance state. And then to turn around and go back on their policies, like proportional representation, Keir Starmer famously said, well, it worked, first past the post worked good for us, so we have no plans of changing it. What a fucking cunt. What a rat. The problem is that also Keir Starmer said, under no circumstances are we letting independence happen to Scotland. And that, I just hate that. I really fucking hate that because it's just, you're really gonna fucking drag us with your shit policies. I think I think Keir Starmer really does know that he's fucking the country up, but he's too, I don't know, cowardly, like stubborn, metal-headed. Again, I don't know how to describe it, but I don't think he's an idiot. Like I refuse to believe he's an idiot because if he was an idiot or is, and he was the chief prosecutor of England, then ugh. Yeah, but that it's really fucking annoying. But yeah, um, hopefully things will get better. With the whole like party elections coming up. Um, I would really like it if Green won more seats. Obviously, I mean I'm biased. I'm sick of seeing people online being like, obviously this is mostly bots, but people being like, I want to vote Reform UK. It's like, okay, so you want to vote for Nazi. Like right now we're in shit light. And now you want to go into the pot, well, away from the pot and into the fire essentially, by letting Nigel fucking Farage run the country Although I think he did say like he was gonna like as soon as Labour like Reform UK got in, he's gonna stop like resign from being the head of the party. I think that's just because he knows that he can't, have his little side gigs and you declare all his, well, not to declare all his political interests, but can, yeah. And, you say to these people, like, you do realize that Farage is going to make your life worse. And they're going to go, no, because they're not Conservative or Labour, is a change. And I'm sympathetic towards that. I remember, like, I did good canvassing in Newborough a couple of weeks ago, and I spoke to a guy who said that he was planning on voting Reform, but you could clearly tell that, well, one, he was scared to tell me because he knew I was a Green Party and we're basically the fucking opposite, but two, that he was kind of like, he wasn't the type you'd expect for Reform UK. Like, I'm gonna say this, is that most of you Reform UK's voter base is actually just normal people who are, have been a victim of the propaganda that's been displayed by the news for basically for a decade. All this asylum seeker shit. And it's just, you can't help but feel bad because it's like, up until recently, Zach Polanski, nobody was really saying, like, no, this isn't like immigrants' fault. And I'm so glad that Zach Polanski came in because he's like completely changed the Green Party of England and Wales. And even though, it's not just the Scottish Greens, I think by proxy, it's done wonders for the Greens because now people are starting to look at the Greens in Scotland because they see like, you know, they see Zach Polanski doing his bit, doing his thing, being objectively a good person. Um, but and they probably take it. They're finally noticing the Green Party. They see the Green Party and like, yeah, he's like the Green Party, and they're like, yeah, I want to join that. But I don't think it'll ever be enough because it doesn't like we're literally like fighting a losing battle at this point. Not fighting a losing battle. That's the wrong word. Euphemism. Hmm. We're fighting an uphill battle essentially because the Green Party don't accept money from big corporations. That's their whole thing. They're a grassroots party and they only support from individual donors. They also have a look at the donors and see if they're applying with their policies, and I think that's great. All right, okay, hold on, put this back on. Right, where was I? Yeah, Zach Polanski. I think what happened was people saw like the country, like England could do the Green Party doing well, and they thought, oh, the Green Party exists. Like, let's have a look in Scotland, and they probably saw that they brought in free public transport for under 22s, and they want to extend that to everybody. They pioneered the Scrapping of Peak Welfare's trial, um, and all these other promises that they're going to do, like sort of free childcare for everybody, and all these other policies, like um, I actually don't know. They haven't released the manifesto yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be similar to the last one. where essentially it's just going to make everyone's lives even better, except, you know, the billionaires and millionaires, but like, honestly, like, who fucking cares about them anymore? Like, they've actively made our lives worse. Why should we care about them? Why should we be like, oh, but what about the billionaires? Like, no one's ever fucking said that, and the people who do say that, I don't even know what to say to you. But okay, whatever. I've got my Winnie the Pooh mug here. I don't know how old it is. I think it's nearly like 14 years old. You know, I have been having this thought recently. You know, ever since I joined the Scottish Greens, and I've spoken to people out in the field, and obviously I need to speak to more people before I even consider doing this. Um, but I have thought about, you know, at least running to be a councillor, which seems like a really far-fetched idea. But like, I feel like that is probably one of the best options because I feel like I really need to use my frustration with the political establishment in an effective use because it's gotten to the point where it's like the people who are in government are, if they're not green, they're too busy pussyfooting around. And I feel like they need someone who is gonna stand up for what they actually believe in and sorry, not accept funds from people who essentially are, you know, assholes, people who actively want to ruin the country and serve their own interests. So, but the problem is, one, I don't even know how to run for a councillor. I have looked at it, but it's beyond me, so I'll need to speak to someone who's an MP or something. Uh, Two, I'm pretty inexperienced at the moment to be a councillor. Three, this East Fife isn't exactly the greatest seat for Greens. I mean, in my ward, it's three councillors, two of which are Liberal Democrats, and one of them is SNP. Which there is room there, maybe, but the fact is that 22% of the population is a turnout for a voter. So that means that only 22% of people who are eligible to vote in that election actually vote. So that means I have to find those 22 people and like actively try and convince them to vote for me. But here's why I consider it is because I feel like I am good at negotiating. I'm good at trying to find what people think, what people's concerns are. Um, like I have my policies and I stand up for them, and I know what how people think, sort of, in regards to politicals, and like, you know, because I've been there. I've been the person who's like being confused and falling for shit, like falling for. At one point, I think the brief but troubling moment, I fell for the um, what was it called? Not all men thing, and also all lives matter. Oh god, that was so cringe. Anyways, um, yeah, but I've been there and I know how people feel, and it's just because they're poorly educated. And the reason why it's an uphill battle is because you know, you've got all these parties that are funded by big companies and big donors, whereas the Greens, you know, they really already accept like at most big donors from individual people. and they just don't blindly accept whatever they get. But also, um, another problem is that the news is essentially like backing reform. No idea why. Like, I get the BBC because BBC is run by people whose interests only really serve Israel. Now, it's not a conspiracy, it's true because if you look at, you know, BBC board of directors, you can't even say fucking genocide around them, even though they got like the people in The Hague defined it as. And yes, I am accusing, um, eh, I'm accusing the BBC of basically Islamophobia essentially, because if they're going to start accusing people of anti-Semitism for literally supporting, the genocided people, then I think it's safe to say we can call the BBC Islamophobic because they are actively advocating for massacre and a genocide and the justification of said genocide on people of Islam and Muslims, a predominantly Muslim country. Um, and I think that's safe to say that, they're Islamophobic. So, yeah, but yeah, I'll think about it, obviously. I'll obviously need to speak to people about it. Um, oh, hi, Priya. Um, he's like, yeah. Um, but yeah, pretty much it.